Well, I keep seeing stories saying that the next Prime Minister is Nigel Farage. And every time I think, no, that's not going to happen because they've only got half a dozen MPs, something happens that makes me think they're on the rise. And this now is the Reform Party getting this major tycoon, Nick Candy. It's the BBC. What do you think of this, Marvin?
I think that this is starting to gather legs. I was like you. I was a bit of a like, this is nonsense. And then I think ever since maybe the last 6 months specifically, there's been this nice rise in terms of also him being platformed, him being positioned as an opposition, people going to him for comment on things where he's technically got, you know, was it 1 or 2 seats in this election? Was it 5? I can't remember. It's not actually enough. 5, sorry. Thank you so much, Carol. 5 seats. And I'm not sure why. He's not the opposition, but he's been given so much support, so much funding. I think it's just like a matter of will and time at this point. And I'm deeply disappointed by it. But I can't... I'm tired of pretending the inevitable isn't happening, especially after Brexit.
Well, it's worth us remembering that the Lib Dems got 3.5 million votes at the election and 72 MPs. Yes, and Farage got 4 million. Yeah. And 5 MPs.
There is a revolution afoot.
Well, I think it might be the case. I mean, I think it depends on what Labour does, whether they can rescue... No. I don't think so.
No, I think, you know, look at now. Reform has 100,000 members. The Tories have 131,000 and Labour has 366,000. So that just shows you what the support in this country. And there was a time when people could have written Farage out as a bigot and a racist and a big mouth. And his no, you can't. And his supporters were written off as kind of grubby, not very important people by the metropolitan elite. Now, with huge swathes of the country are going to him, and the fact that Nick Candy says he's going to raise 40 million to make him.
All that does, surely, Carol, is helps Labour stay in power.
No, because I
think it means it splits the vote on the right.
No, no, because I think the Tories are finished. I think they're a bust.
You think they're going to have to link up with Reform?
I think they're going to have to. No, I don't even think that. I think Reform is, you know, in Scotland now. The thing about Reform is, in the past they haven't done much locally. They haven't made much impact locally, but of late they have. There's now big predictions for the May elections that they're going to take seats there, and the council and mayoral elections. And in Scotland, they're gathering force big time. So I think by the time the next election comes round, I think the Tories will be in the toilet, and I think Labour needs to be very, very worried about what's happening.
Well, let's see, yeah. So that's the result in Clacton. The gentleman to Farage's left came in the studio the other day, so he was the Labour candidate. The idea that, so I should say about the fellow who's joined them here is Nick Candy, part of these 2 brothers, the Candy Brothers, they're called, the original, and they're so rich, it's unbelievable. If I read out how much money they were worth, it would take the rest of the programme.
And you know, you have Musk was promising $100 million. Now, that's probably not going to happen because of our electoral rules, but even if he gets a fraction of that, that's going to make a massive difference.
And also Trump might help Farage as well. I'm just going to say there was a tweet by Isabel Oakeshott yesterday, have a look, where she said, you see down the bottom, breaking, self-made billionaire Nick Candy has donated a 7-figure sum. And Alfie Potts says, unpopular opinion, if you were educated at a £50,000 a year private school and started your company with a £6,000 loan from your granny, as Nick Candy did, you are not, in fact, self-made.
No, he's not self-made. And it's 100% he's been supported. Like, I couldn't get £6,000 out of my grandmother.
If you had, the question is, if you had £6,000 from your grandmother in 1986, would you now be worth 10 billion? That's the question.
Well, that is the question, and there's many insights into why that may not happen. Well, but I think the greater point is he can take a certain level of degree for his own success, but to make it out, I don't know why you need to say you're self-made. You are funded. And in 1986, £6,000 in relation to a property market. Hold on a second, Carol. £6,000 in terms of the property market, it was a significant amount of a contribution compared to what it is today. So in reality, it's 10% of a house.
If he gets
in 1986.
Yes, and you know what? He could have bought a house with it, lived in a nice city for the rest of his life. What he did was chanced it and put it into a business.
I'm not mad about him making the money, but the fact is, what you then do with it afterwards, it's so interesting when people make their money, they call themselves self-made, then they hand it out to political parties. This idea that they're kind of like these saviours.
Why not?
But it's all for their own self-interest.
No, it's not. It's not, because he believes in what Farage is advocating.
There's nothing here about belief. There's no belief. It's just I make a lot of money and the country should change.
The thing you will never get about Farage is he's a conviction politician, and that's why so many people...
But there's nothing under conviction, though. There's nothing to be delivered.
Yes, there is.
Let's go to Clacton. Live from Clacton, we see nothing.
He knows exactly what he wants to do, re-immigration, which is the #1 issue in this country.
Great, and then we
now.
solve immigration and then
Can
what
I finish
happens to
my
the rest of the
point? You want me
country?
to-
Okay, well, we need to move on in a minute, but
Well,
go
I
on.
just want to say it's the
Timely.
number one issue in this country. The Tories ignored it, and Labour are currently ignoring it. He's not, and that's why people
All right.
are.
And then we're going to solve
Okay,
that and be...
Marvin,